Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Noor Darjas. This is your host Mahmoud Noor. Today we'll be talking about behavioral sciences on motivation, emotion and stress. We'll be speaking about what causes us to be motivated, what causes us to be stressed, and how do we express emotion, how do we react to stimuli, etc. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe and let's get started. So motivation is influenced by instincts, arousal, drives, and needs. So motivation as a whole is influenced by a lot of things in life. You know, what do you want in life? What pushes you to just pursue this thing? Or like, what kind of survival instincts in order to get this thing? There are extrinsic motivation and intrinsic. So extrinsic are external factors coming from outside, include that kind of force you or motivate you to do something for a reward, for motivation, or to avoid punishment. Okay, so let's say your parents are like, oh, we're gonna buy you a car if you graduate college. That's extrinsic motivation. Or like if you don't wash the dishes, for instance, you're not gonna go out with your friends on the weekend, something like that. uh or yeah, and then you got intrinsic motivation coming from one's own self wanting that thing. It's like now you're studying for the MCAT, one like you're thinking to one's own self, oh, I need to study hard, I need to do this, I need to do that in order to be different, in order to be successful. And then next you have the instinct theory, which certain behaviors are based on biological programmed instincts. These are fixed behavioral patterns. So an example of that is, for instance, animals during migration. Many species of birds have an innate instinct to migrate to a specific location during certain times of year. So instinct, you know, maybe you have a certain pattern instinct, a certain biological instinct. Next, we have the Yerkes-Dodson law, or the arousal theory. Arousal is just being awake and responding to stimuli such as being alert or excited. That's what um, arousal is. So the theory states that people perform actions in order to maintain optimal level of arousal. If arousal levels are too high or too low, performance will be impaired. Let's, for instance, say you're taking a geography test and you think the test is the multiple choice test is easy. You know, you're not gonna be required to have a high um, arousal um, level. But then let's say you're taking a really hard physics test, you can have either really high arousal levels, which will cause anxiety and lower the performance, or you can, you know, control it and have an optimal arousal level in order to solve good. Next, you have the drive reduction theory. So drive is an internal state of tension that activates behavior. That's what I was talking about in the intrinsic motivation, is that drive um, like kind of, you know, is a mix of external factors impacting you internally in order to pursue something. So let's say, for instance, drive helps humans survive by creating an uncomfortable state. Okay, right now I don't have money in the bank. I need to find a job, work on myself, get a place for myself, move out, etc., etc. Primary drives the need for food, water, warmth, and homeostasis. And then secondary drives are like goals in life, emotions and desire for love and achievement. I want to achieve something in life. I want to find love. I have certain goals I want to attain. And next you have drive deduction, also states that motivation is based on a goal of eliminating uncomfortable states. So let's say as an uncomfortable state, oh, so I'm homeless. How do I fix that? You know, I need to do one, two, and three. You know, and that's how you eliminate uncomfortable state through drives. Needs are long-lasting feelings that require relief. And then you got Maslow's hierarchy of needs on the right. This is really significant because Maslow says that if the lowest need is not met, motivation to meet that need is the priority. So you got the physiological need first. It's like the need for breathing, water, and then basics of life. And then you got safety, security of the body, employment, safety, financial safety, resources, family safety, health safety. You got then relationships, you got friendship, family, etc., etc. And then you got self-esteem, you got confidence, achievement, and then lastly you got morality, creativity. So the basic bottom needs need to be met first before you actually meet the top ones. And then you have self-determination theory, which emphasizes the role of autonomy. What autonomy is the control of one's actions and ideas, and competence and relatedness to being accepted and wanted. It's like you want to have your own action, your own opinions about things. Okay, you want to control your own life. You want people to accept you for who you are. That's self-determination theory. And next we have incentive theory, which is a behavior is motivated by the desire to pursue a reward and avoid punishment, kind of like the extrinsic motivation. Um, Next you have expectancy value theory, amount of motivation needed to reach one's goal as a result of one's expectation of success and degree the value success of the goal. So expectancy value theory, oh, so I want to be a physician. How much effort am I willing to put into that? How much work am I going to do in order to attain that goal? And next you have opponent process theory. Opponent process theory, we're going to be speaking about the drugs aspect of it. Is when drugs are taken, the body will attempt to counteract it by changing the physiology. Tolerance is decreased as perceived drug effect over time. So what opponent theory, an example of that is, as someone who is in addiction, for instance, as someone who drinks alcohol, so the initial positive effects of alcohol consumption followed by negative emotional states when the alcohol wears off, kind of like withdrawal, leading to a stronger motivation to drink more to avoid the unpleasant withdrawal symptoms and restore balance. Basically, in simple terms, person drinks, drink wears off, they get withdrawal symptoms, so they drink more in order to avoid these symptoms. Kind of what people deal with, or alcoholics deal with, when they're like trying to forget. Oh yeah, so when I'm conscious, when I'm thinking, oh, I remember this certain event. Okay, I need to drink so I can forget about it. Withdrawal symptoms include the anxiety, jitteriness, and irritation. Three elements of emotion is psychological, cognitive, behavioral response. So psychological response is the arousal stimulated, and physiological changes include change in heart rate, breathing rate, and skin temperature, and that stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. Next you have the behavioral response, facial expression of body language. And lastly you have cognitive response, subjective interpretation of one's feelings based on memories or past experiences. So the three elements of emotion: psychological, behavior, and cognitive. Don't forget that. Next we have James Lang theory of emotion, in which stimulus is a result, or like kind of activated, and then the nervous system is aroused, and then this triggers a secondary response and emotion. For instance, you see a really sad movie, okay, so the nervous system is aroused, it receives that info, and then it kind of expresses a secondary response, emotion of sadness, for instance, or emotion of happiness, or tears, something like that. So also an example is car hitting you is a stimulus, elevates fear and increases heart rate. Then you got cannonball theory. It's the conscious experience of emotion and physiological and physiological and arousal. They all occur simultaneously, and then behavioral action. So let's say you see a snake, and then you experience emotion and physiological and kind of arousal. What am I going to do? I'm afraid. Sympathetic nervous system triggers. Okay, you need to act. Okay, behavioral action. Okay, you're scared, but behavioral action, I need to get out. That's Cannonball theory. And then lastly have the Schachter Singer, which is a physiological and cognitive label are needed to experience emotion depending on the environment. Stimulus causes physical arousal, cognitive label physical arousal, and then emotion. Okay, so limbic system is involved in the behavioral and emotional response, and then it consists of amygdala, which processes the environment, detects external and learn the surrounding to produce emotion, and it's associated with fear and also associated with anger. Next, you got the thalamus, my bad, which is the preliminary sensory processing station to other areas of the brain. Sensory information comes through it and then it redistributes it. And then we got the hippocampus, which creates long-term memories, creates context for stimuli to lead to emotional experience. When emotions experienced sensory information, they're transmitted to a explicit memory system. And explicit memory system, don't forget, is the conscious one. All right, where it consists of episodic and semantic. Episodic is life event and life experiences, and semantic is like the knowledge and connections, ideas, and concepts. And then you got the implicit, which is the emotional memory. Implicit is the unconscious part, kind of like comes to you. Okay, storage of feelings of emotion with similar stimuli. These events retrieve as, for instance, PTSD. So with the implicit, it's like, so oh yeah, I see, for instance, a I don't know, an old man getting beat up. Like, what kind of emotion? Like, you're not gonna control your emotion and be like, oh yeah, let me be conscious about my emotion. But it's kind of the implicit system taking over, and then you feel like, oh yeah, no, this is wrong. I feel angry, blah blah blah, or I feel sad for him, something like that. Next, you got the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning, expressing personality, and making decisions. Okay, a prefrontal cortex consists of two parts: the ventral prefrontal cortex, which experiences emotion through connecting to the brain, and then you got the ventral medial prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision making and emotional control. Next, you got the cognitive appraisal, which is subjective evaluation of a situation that induces stress divided in two stages. So you're placed in a situation, you got the cognitive appraisal. Okay, you start thinking to yourself. So the primary appraisal is the initial evaluation of the threat, which can be stressful. Okay, so for instance, I got a lion in front of me. Okay, so primary appraisal, what am I gonna do? Okay, secondary appraisal, threats identified. Okay, I got a lion, so can I cope with the stress or no? Can I cope with the lion? Fight or flight, sympathetic system, triggers, boom. Okay, heart rate up and breathing up. Yeah. So what a stressor is external factors leading to stress responses such as environmental factors, daily events, biological stress. General adaptation syndrome. Okay, so with the general adaptation syndrome, this basically describes why stress leads to health problems. Okay, even if you're not gonna take anything from this video, at least take this. Okay, so you start with homeostasis normally. Okay, and then um, you get exposed to the initial stress. Okay, so this is the alarm stage. Initial stressor reaction activates sympathetic nervous system. Okay, heart rate increases, breathing increases, etc., etc. Okay, and then you got resistance stage. So continuous release of hormone to fight the stress. So maybe it's a mental stress, maybe it's something you're dealt with. Oh yeah, so let me give you an example. Let's say, I don't know, the bank kind of fined you for something, okay? And then you're having a mental stress. Oh my God, how am I going to pay for this, okay? So resistance, you're like your body's releasing hormones to fight the stressor, okay? Keeps fighting it, okay? And then exhaustion stage, your body can no longer maintain the elevated response with the sympathetic nervous system, and individual become susceptible to illness and medical condition. Okay, that's why everyone, don't stress. Life isn't worth stressing, really. Breathe. Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions, and of course, as always, have a blessed day.